All right.
In America today, there is a growing fear that we are losing our foundational values to political dominance and propaganda. This is breeding a hopelessness and fear that it cannot and will not change. But I'm not convinced that we've lost our will and ability to restore civic engagement and a unified people. While I was observing these tensions rising, I noticed a few of my friends who weren't engaging in the fear and negative conversations. So I just decided to ask them what they were doing to be positive. And so they gave me 3 things that they were doing to make a positive impact on their local government and communities. And those 3 actions are: create or join a local group to provide support for each other while fighting for your rights, calling local business and government leaders' offices, and just making personal goals to be a positive influence. These friends encouraged me that these actions are valuable and doable, and with resolve and gumption, they can make a positive influence and impact on your community. So, number 1, create or join a local group to support each other while fighting for your rights. Phil Rabinowitz wrote a detailed article on how to build a coalition. And a coalition is a group of individuals who agree to work together towards a common goal. And then he also listed 3 reasons for joining or creating a coalition. And those are a need to create a significant change in the community. Could be also in response to changes in regulations. And then lastly, outside threats that are impacting the community. All right, now we know where to start. Calling your local government and business leaders' offices. I know it sounds really intimidating, but one of my friends, Denise, she gave me some tips on to make that a better interaction. Number 1, to just write down all your concerns, ideas, questions, so that way you actually do get to express all your thoughts in the phone call. And then also she just informed that a lot of times you get a hold of someone on staff, not necessarily the direct leader. And so, but part of their job is to get that information from the public and get that to that leader. So you are heard and they do get that information. And then why this is even important is just to return to holding our government leaders accountable again for their actions and shift from being passive citizens to contributing participants. And the last action is making a personal goal to be a positive influence. It's now a secret that social media has become a place to vent and rant about your opinions and feelings, and where you probably wouldn't in a face-to-face scenario. And this is only added to the fear and tension in our nation. But I recommend just making a goal to speak intentionally with kindness and respect toward each other. And then also listening is key. I know it's super hard when the person speaking is uninformed and even harsh, but giving the respect and responding accordingly can make a positive experience and possibly start a chain reaction. And for instance of this is Megan Phelps Roper has a TED Talk titled "I Grew Up in the Westboro Baptist Church, Here's Why I Left." And she's someone who benefited from individuals who just decided to be a positive influence. She explains that these individuals started to engage her in conversations because, and they did not hold her values or beliefs, but they remained respectful and honest and open. And because of this conversations, she started to see the cracks in her own values and beliefs, and therefore she ended up leaving the controversial church. So this is all because some strangers wanted to understand her perspective, and they didn't have to compromise their own, and they made a positive impact on her life. So, summary, 3 actions are create or join a local group to support each other while fighting for your rights. Second, make calls to your local government and business leaders. And thirdly, to make personal goal to be positive influence. I wanted to give an example of this in action. I recently watched a documentary by Ken Burns titled Prohibition. And Prohibition was brought about because alcohol was ravaging the home life of the majority of Americans in the 1920s. And like husbands would go to work, they'd get off, get drunk, come home, abuse their wives and children, and often die from alcohol poisoning. And this was a time when women could speak up, there was no divorce, there was no police protection. But what happened was they began to join groups to support and actually start to speak up against alcohol. And this spread across the entirety of the U.S. And after years of protests and speaking with legislators, it did finally become illegal to sell alcohol. All because some women who couldn't voice their opinion but did it anyway. And then they also ushered in at the same time the women's rights movement. So after 13 years, the law was repealed because it was causing more damage than good. And it was repealed by a lot of the same people who were supporting its eradication. And so I wanted to share this piece of history because it's an example of a group of individuals who chose hope over fear, and they ended up making a huge impact and inciting a national movement. Thank you for listening.